Excellent. So this is the final session of the day where you get a chance to ask the analysts any questions. I say any questions. Sam's got his hand up already. But yeah, let's go for it. Sam, do you want to shout or shall I bring the mic?
Actually, it started out the same all day because it goes with your last one. But the thing we see with AI more than anything is consumption-based pricing. And this is an industry that it feels like 50 years ago was consumption, minutes, et cetera, and then went to per seat, per month subscription, and is now swinging back to consumption. How are you guys seeing it?
Yeah, I completely agree. To be completely transparent and probably a bit of an overshare, one of the things that keeps us most at night is the exam question that we get. As you know, we do a lot of commercial and technical due diligence. We will be asked, what is the value of the French contact center market? And at the moment, that valuation is very simply created by how many contact center agents are there in France, times by the average per user per month pricing of what a contact center seat is sold for in France. That is a rough estimation of how it's done. We know that actually that is in flux at the moment. And I mean, all of the public companies that are your competitors, generally their valuations are based on the revenue based on that seat count. So we know this is about to change. It's when it flips and at what rate it flips. I know, Finbarr, you were at Amazon Connect this week, and it was I think you came back in the words you used converted to consumption pricing. So,
so yeah, I mean that is one way of putting it. I think we're an interesting, if we think about three companies that are doing things completely differently. So Genesis are charging per seat, and then per seat you get a certain number of tokens per user that you can spend on AI consumption services. 5.9 pricing is, here's a license, you get these AI services with it, and it's a fair use consumption. And then you've got Amazon, who I was with all last week, who are fully consumption. It's this charge per minutes per call for the AI license. You get any of our AI services within that consumption-based umbrella. And when I said I was won over by consumption-based pricing, the deeper discussion was more that I think we are entering into a phase where seats are going to drop. I mean, there's no way around that. We make agents more efficient. Some companies will get more of market share and increase their agent share, but a lot of companies are going to cut seat revenues. And it's kind of like thinking about the ethos of consumption-based pricing, which is what Amazon were pitching to us, which is that if you're paying consumption-based, I have more of an incentive working as your partner. The only way I'm going to help you bring costs down is by working with you to make your contact center more efficient, if that makes sense. So rather than thinking I've cut a human being, and that's saving you X amount per year in terms of employee salary cost, it was the ethos of, if I'm doing my job right, you're actually paying me less money, but that means you're going to like me as a provider more. Yeah. And I did wonder if that's what we should be aiming for as an industry as well, is charge consumption, be consultants, charge for consultancy, and then focus on getting their consumption costs down by helping them build better CX. And maybe there's less money, but the customers are stickier because they appreciate that you've worked with them on this journey.
Yeah. One of the things that we see with our consumption-based products, and it's now 18% of our revenue.
And that's primarily the CPaaS bit of the business, isn't it? Yeah.
And the AI parts.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of contact center stuff also. But the sales cycle is totally different. Right, the sales cycle is POC, because you're signing a 3-year deal. You're an IT guy. You're signing a 3-year deal. I need a POC. I need to argue about terms and conditions for 3 months. I need lawyers. I need turn it on. I play with it. I like it. I use it.
And also, just put that in context to someone like AWS, about 50% of their customers are AWS customers on the data center side, and then also using Connect. So if you have already got a huge data center contact with AWS, then spinning up a contact center on a consumption-based license where you're testing it out with 5 users, you don't even have to sign a piece of paper. You just go on the marketplace, grab what you want, and assume it's going to burn up some of your massive AWS credit, which you already have. So there's definitely a lot of appealing things about consumption when we get into AI experimentation, but obviously the risks are customers get freaked out by huge spikes on the consumption-based costs. They want you to aggregate, so you're paying the same amount every month, so they have predictive spend. You obviously need to figure out how to upsell a service, not just charge the professional services for setting it up, but also add on some sort of revenue that gets you your monthly income and replaces those seat license revenues. So it's not it's not obvious that we'll switch from one to the other. AI needs to be built
Also,
by consumption.
Also, I think the last time that we ran enterprise research and we asked customers about the preference for how do you want to pay, still the preference was for subscription-based licensing.
They want to
narrow. It was narrow. The results were pretty even. It depends on your use cases, but still people want the transparency of. But they're maybe not sort of realizing the
Well, they want a clean number every month, and they want you to absorb the ambiguity by giving them a clean number every month that covers whatever AI usage that you're going to do, right? Rather than giving them a bill shock if they have a particularly busy period.
So I think in answer to the original question, yeah, we're seeing the transition. Well, I think we're seeing the transition. That's something that we have to model as a Cavell point.
And I think if you're going down that route, you need to be able to explain what that looks like from a forecast perspective to any of your investors, either now or in the future, because they are asking that question. And if you cannot answer it properly, they're going to be very worried about that. Any other questions from the room?
We have a roving mic as well, I believe, now at the back, if anyone's got anything.
Or maybe I'll ask our analyst something. What was the most interesting thing you heard today on one of your panels? Oh. They didn't listen at all.
On one of our panels or on panels in general?
Oh, in general.
So I was really interested listening to the panel of CEOs we had this morning, just talking about how, as younger buyers come into the marketplace, what they're buying isn't necessarily assumed the traditional default. Oh, I have to have a UCAS, I have to have a CCAS, I have to have this. They're looking at it, and they're looking at the rate of change, and they're looking at what's coming in. They're asking the question, what do I need? What's the best tool available to do the job? Is it collaboration? Is it Teams? Is it mobile first? Is it a voice chatbot for my website? And I think that's a really interesting point of disruption. We can't just assume that we're going to keep going the way that things have been just because that's the way that we've been doing them. Because young people hate tradition and legacy, and they're building companies now. So we have to keep that in mind.
Interesting. Tom, any thoughts?
Yeah, I had an interesting go-to-market panel, and I was quite surprised at the sheer number of new agents that are popping up in the US, and kind of more interestingly, how there's kind of the agent and the resale model are starting to live probably in a bit more harmony, and some resellers are adopting the agent model for some things, keeping the resale model for others. So that was quite interesting. I sat in a panel that Katie hosted that mentioned pricing a little bit, actually, and it reminded me I was talking to a vendor a couple of weeks ago who's charging for their AI agent in $100 bundles, but they can articulate what you get in that $100 bundle because it depends what LLM you use, and if they go to a new LLM, that could be, a new version, that can be 10 times more than the previous one. And someone said it gets to a point where if you're having a complex conversation with a voice AI agent, you may as well have just offshored it to a human in a contact center because it's cheaper. So that pricing dynamic was quite interesting. And in my last panel, the verticalization, I think there's a huge opportunity for service providers to take these vertical platforms. We mentioned Weave a lot, but wrap other services around it because Weave don't want to do everything. They want to bundle other things in, or they need a service provider to bundle it with other things, which kind of feeds into our sort of intelligent workplace thing. So that was quite a good panel as well.
Yeah, I think mine's more of a concept from several panels, and Matt mentioned the last panel that we were in about AI, and I wonder whether we're guilty at this event, and not that we can necessarily do, whether now we are entering an age where we need to be much more granular in terms of the focus. So whether we have to have a very vertical, all I'm hearing is that everything needs to be much more tailored to specific verticals or specific use cases. Whereas we try to talk about topics on quite a sort of broad. This is me and Dom effectively having a discussion about the future sort of agenda of events going forward. But I wonder whether we need to. It's that from a very broad focus to a very narrow precision focus. And obviously Microsoft are talking about it, Zoom are talking about it, everyone's talked about verticals. I wonder if that's the sort of overall concept that I would take out as potentially the most interesting. What about you, John? What was the sort of most interesting thing that you...
I had the one piece of feedback which I found fascinating was your events always make me really depressed. And
we're doing our job.
And I kind of sat there and went, is that good? Is that bad? I mean, it was just like every time we come, I just hear about a million new things that I should be doing or new initiatives that I should be doing and how much faster I need to move. And I think it's depressing maybe to think about, God, we've actually got to do a ton of work here. But the pace of change that we're seeing, and you hear what everyone's saying is, you think what your business model is now, and you think in 5 years, if you're going to do the same thing in 5 years' time, I don't think that's going to be the case. So yeah, maybe it's depressing to some, thinking, God, we've got to reinvent ourselves the whole time and do the next thing and move and move and move. But I think there's so much opportunity out there to do that as well. New services, new opportunities coming through, new routes to market, new products coming in. I think it's exciting rather than depressing.
I think
But,
I'd have to echo that. I mean, my panel, we come out and say, "Oh, stop selling CCaaS, start selling customer journeys." It sounds really fun. It's quite complicated. Like, let's not focus on a feature set. Let's focus on an outcome. Sounds really fun, but it's a daunting prospect to the people in the room. We acknowledge that. We know that it is. But I guess we feel like if we're not telling you these things, then we're not really doing.
And I mean,
service with you then.
outcome-focused selling isn't anything. Catherine, question down at the front.
That's okay. You know, you just brought up a point I want to understand from your point of view. So you still have a lot of premise-based contact centers throughout the world. Are you seeing the buying pattern now being adding the AI on at the customer journey, or are you seeing, is it like a wholesale replacement, or are you seeing just incremental improvement? Kind of curious about
It's still a combination of the two. We're still seeing. I mean, our numbers. We've got and one of the things I found interesting when we modelled it recently is actually the UCaaS and the CCaaS penetration numbers globally are pretty much the same. You would expect CCaaS to be behind. It's a generally more nascent technology. It's less, but actually, it's caught up in terms of the penetration levels roughly, and I think we're still seeing a pretty even split of some people will do full rip and replace. On the panel I was talking about earlier with Lauren from Nextiva, we made the point, one of the reasons it's so hard to block shift a contact center from premise to cloud is because it's, you know, if you have 1 second of downtime in that contact center and you're Maersk or whoever, it costs you, you know, $200 million or whatever it is. So I think that is an additional challenge. But I mean, you probably
I would say so. Yes, you have people end up running their on-premise contact center and their cloud as a failure. One company I was speaking to was talking about that one of their ways they're actually selling into people who are replacing on-premise contact centers is selling a cloud backup bundle. Right, so we'll take whatever functions and processes we need from your on-prem contact center, store a record of those in the cloud, and then when your on-premise contact center finally fails, well, we can use that record, that seed that we've built in the cloud to spin you up your backup quickly, and you don't have to pay for it properly until it's actually built. So it's quite interesting. Who's still buying on-premise contact centers? Who's still trying to sell them on-premise contact centers? I think that's a big question. You know, what company is standing up there actively pushing on-premise outside of specific government use cases or public sector use cases? But even if you go to Europe and you look at the public sector, you look at the DWP in the UK who are signing on with NICE.
I think Cisco would still say they're selling probably a bit of.
Well, but they are selling a bit to certain places. But we're seeing even large public sector use cases move to the cloud. So, you know, I'm not saying on-premise is gone or dead or dying or going to disappear overnight. But I think, you know, there is a roadmap to it disappearing. People bragging about it disappearing. If you tell me someone's successfully selling AI add-ons onto on-premise contact centers and making money, I wouldn't be surprised by that. Someone's built a contact center and they want to keep it around for as long as possible and get some AI features. But that was Avaya's strategy for the last 3 years. You know, they're still around, but you know, it's not necessarily going great for them.
No, thanks, Catherine.
we're probably. Oh, one question there. Yeah.
One quick
Please.
question. Even Satya Nadella says Excel may go away in the future. We've heard a lot of great things, but where do the foundation models eat parts of this industry?
I think that's a risk that we probably all are aware of, that that may be the case. And to the point we raised earlier around the way we're communicating now is very different from the way people communicated 10 years ago.
But
10 years ago it was phone and email. And has that still the case? I mean, you look at chat, most of my communication with customers internally is now chat and not voice. But how's that going to change in the next few years? You look in some emerging markets, and I remember speaking to companies out in India who were trying to serve that market, and they're like, we cannot launch it without a WhatsApp integration because 90% of the people we're going to work with are going to use WhatsApp, and that's the way they're going to communicate. So unless you integrate into that, there's no way past that. So it's going to evolve, and AI may, as you say, eat this industry, but I think it's going to enhance it to a point first. And there's opportunities abound for integrating, making workflows work, building agents, at the same time as still selling the core capabilities that everyone in this room does.
Yeah, and ultimately it's data that has to run over something on the whole, and obviously we talked about that in the previous panel. There's piping needed underneath it, so bits of it will be cannibalized, but.
And also, like, do you believe that it will ever get so simple that they don't need someone regionally, locally to sit there and be
who knows their
okay,
vertical
you
to
business, this is how we're actually going to build it, ship it, deploy it into your area.
Rick just pointed out that this is why people walk away depressed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
But I think you can be depressed with it, but you can look at the opportunities.
But what we'd like to spin into that is that there are drinks afterwards. So
Yeah, there are drinks. Drown your sorrows.
No, but don't leave this panel thinking we do not firmly believe that CSPs and the people in this room have the right to win in this space.
No,
you have
very
the
good point.
expertise, you have the customers, you have the knowledge, you have the partnerships with the companies that are building some really interesting things. You are positioned to turn your go-to-market strength into continued success. So that's the positive note.
really good point.
And also, a lot of these startups that are coming to tackle you don't have your practical experience in your vertical, in your sector. So I was talking to, it was you, Matt, earlier, I was talking to you, I was like, voice AI startup just got dinged for 5,000 because they didn't stop their AI from calling back a premium rate number. And some hacker figured this out and set the AI to call a premium rate number 1,000 times in one day, and suddenly there's $10,000 in a bill coming across the table. How many people in this room that are telecoms experts would have let their bot do that and not questioned, is it a premium rate number? No, they're not allowed to do it. Let's put a guardrail and stop it, right? How many examples of that are going to come up over the next 5 years where you guys and girls and people, will stop that and will get out ahead of it and innovate and be there? So I think we can be positive because we think you do have the right to win, but we also have to present the dangers and the threats to you in a way that puts a bit of fire under you, gets you moving.
Very well said.
Yeah, there you go.
I think we're going to have to call it a day because I've got the big zeros flashing at me on my screen down here that we're out of time. But before I finish, we have got the CCA Cloud Financial Summit tomorrow for those who are coming along. But there's a dinner tonight from 6 till 10 p.m. at the Willard Intercontinental, which I think is outside that window. So look forward to seeing you there. And then obviously the Cloud Financial Summit tomorrow. We have been recording these sessions as a recording sponsor, AI Foria, and as of tomorrow, you'll be receiving a kind of update from them, which is going to synopsis of everything we've heard today. We're going to be going through it and doing some fact checking just to make sure it's all right. But be interesting to see how that comes off. But just looking at some kind of key stats coming through here, the number one word that was said throughout the morning sessions was customer. And we've had feedback before looking at this that people go, you don't talk about the customer enough, you just talk about the industry. And I think that's definitely changed. But you look at other words coming through there, platform, service, agent, provider, partner. I'm pretty pleased that these are all kind of emerging through here, that it's not really deep technology. It's really talking about what we're doing.
The one that most drew my eye there, underneath provider, is the word Matt. And I'm so glad he's not in this room, because that would really, appeal to his ego.
Teams, yeah. What you also get is a breakdown, kind of Sunbar's topic view, where you can click on different areas, go through them, see the summarize of different topic areas as we go through. So talking through AI, why has AI been talked about, what different stats come through on here as well. If we look at the topics from today, what was the most kind of talked about topics? AI 15%, industry and market strategy 17%, go-to-market 16%. I think if we dig into AI, most of what we talked about AI was AI integration, AI agents, orchestration, and then a little bit around feature commoditization through there as well. So you'll be able to pick this up, and we'll be sent out to everyone looking through every single session that we've done, summarization, key takeaways. So share this with your teams when you get back home, talk about what you've done, and hopefully re-engage with Cavell if you want any extra information from this as well. There's lots of data that we've got backing up all of this. We'd love to work with you all in the future. And with that, I'd like to say thank you to the events team. Oh, sorry, Clark in the corner. Do you want to say a few words about dinner?